Okay. Hello, I'm Srinivas. Is anybody able to hear me from NIDM?
Sir, good morning, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Good morning. Yeah. Is my video visible? I just switched
yes,
on
sir,
my video.
It's clear, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I'll stand by. Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Sir, shall we start our program?
Yeah, I please start it.
Namaskar. Good morning. Welcome to today's webinar on tsunami risk reduction and resilience, jointly organized by National Institute of Disaster Management, Ministry of Home Affairs, and Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services, Ministry of Earth Sciences. Tsunami are a series of waves usually generated by movement of the sea floor. These movements are caused by different type of geophysical phenomena such as earthquakes, landslide, and volcanic eruptions. Tsunamis are considered the most devastating natural hazard on coastal environment. Densely populated cities on coastal belts are the engines of economic growth and the center of innovation for global economy of respective nations. As we know, most of the global cities are located near the coast, facilitating trade and commerce. They are also located near the mouth of major perennial rivers which serve as conduit for commerce connecting rest of the world. These locations place major cities at a greater risk of natural hazard like cyclones, flooding, sea level rise, tsunami, etc. With the increase intensity of economic exploitation in coastal belts, there is also an increase in socio-economic consequences resulting from the hazardous action of tsunami waves generated from submarine seismic activity and other causes. On 26 December 2004, the countries of East Indian Ocean experienced and witnessed the most devastating tsunami in recorded history. Today's webinar on tsunami risk reduction and resilience aims to explore and debate the most recent advances towards tsunami risk reduction and resilience, implementing Prime Minister 10-point agenda, point number 5, where Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji urged to leverage on technology to enhance the efficiency of the disaster risk management efforts. I hope that the various participants involved in this webinar will benefit immensely in improving the tsunami preparedness, mitigation, and emergency response, not only in the coastal districts of the country, but also provide the necessary support for consolidating the capacity building, training, education, and research and development by professionals in leading national institutions in the country. To enlighten us more in this topic, we have with us Dr. T. Srinivasan Kumar, Director INCOIS, and Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, VSM Executive Director, NIDM in the inaugural session, and Dr. J. Radhakrishnan, IS Principal Secretary, Health and Family Welfare Department, Government of Tamil Nadu, Dr. E. Patabi Ramarao, Scientist F and Head TWG INCOIS, and Professor Surya Prakash, Head GMR Division, National Institute of Disaster Management in the technical session. Unfortunately, our Chief Guest, Sri G. Kishan Reddy, Minister of State, Ministry of Home Affairs, could not join us in the webinar due to his busy schedule and he has some group of minister meetings. Now, to raise the curtain of our inaugural session, I would like to call upon ED NIDM Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, VSM. In these more than 3 decades of service to Government of India, he has held important command and staff assignment such as Deputy Director General in Directorate of Army Air Defense, Director of Center for United Nations Peacekeeping, Secretary of the International Association of Peacekeeping Training Centers. Without further ado, I request Executive Director, National Institute of Disaster Management, Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, to deliver his keynote address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Harjeet. Thank you so much, and a very hearty welcome to all the participants who have joined. And a special welcome and thank you to Dr. Srinivas Kumar, who is Director INCOIS, and congratulations to him for taking over on 28th of August. And I also welcome Dr. J. Radhakrishnan, IAS, Principal Secretary, Revenue and Disaster Management, Government of Tamil Nadu, Dr. E. Pattabi Rama Rao, Scientist Staff and Head ODG INCOIS, and Professor Surya Prakash, Head GMR Division NIDM, who will be giving the valuable and enlightened talks during this webinar. This is a very important topic, and we are missing, I forgot to mention, we are missing our chief guest who had to go for a group of ministers meeting. So maybe next time we'll be able to get him on board. Today we are discussing a very important topic of tsunami, because this is one of those low frequency but high intensity events. Of India's 7,516 kilometer coastline, 5,004 kilometers is along the mainland, 132 kilometers is in Lakshadweep, and about 1,900 out of that is in Andaman and Nicobar Island. Out of this, nearly 70%, that is 5,700 kilometers, are highly vulnerable to the impacts of tropical cyclones, related hydrometeorological hazards, and consequently to recurrent loss of life and properties. So these coastal states are also susceptible to the impacts of tsunami, drought, and floods. Studies indicate that natural disaster losses equate up to 2% of India's gross domestic product and up to 12% of the central government revenue. So it's quite a big figure. And it has now well recognized that by taking long, medium, and short-term mitigation measures, the loss of lives, economy, infrastructure, and environment can be minimized. And if the coastal communities are prepared to become resilient against such disasters, they can recover from post-disaster situations and plan better for the reduced future risks. Hazard risk prevention and mitigation, it is a key to sustainable development, and this has been the policy of Government of India, which lays great emphasis on prevention, preparation, and mitigation. We are aware that in Asia, the largest two such tsunamis happened within 7 years of each other, challenging the knowledge on such disasters. The Indian Ocean tsunami, it was caused by a earthquake, a 9.1 magnitude earthquake on 26 December 2004, and it affected more than 15 countries, with lakhs of people killed or missing, number of houses destroyed, and millions getting displaced in Indonesia, Sri Lanka. Again in 11th March 2011, the Great East Japan earthquake and tsunami, it caused by 9.0 earthquake. In this, again, thousands of people were killed and were missing, and thousands of houses were destroyed, and millions of people had to be evacuated. So in the context to India, the Indian Ocean tsunami of 26 December 2004, which devastated the coastal communities in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Puducherry, Andaman and Nicobar Island, it prompted the Government of India to take the pioneering step to establish appropriate institutional mechanisms for the effective management of disasters in India. So as mandated, the Disaster Management Act of 2005, which we call DM Act 2005, it was created, and it created a multi-tiered institutional system with National Disaster Management Authority, NDMA, as the apex body for disaster management in India, chaired by the Prime Minister of India personally. Then at the state level, the State Disaster Management Authority, SDMA, chaired by respective chief ministers, and district disaster management authorities, DDMAs, chaired by district collectors and co-chaired by the chairpersons of the Jilla Parishads. So these bodies have been set up to facilitate the paradigm shift from the earlier relief-centric approach to a more proactive, holistic, and integrated approach of strengthening disaster preparedness, mitigation, and emergency response capacities in the country. But the absence of an effective tsunami early warning system and the last mile connectivity to disseminate alert and early warning messages to the coastal communities, as well as the lack of public awareness and emergency response preparedness, made the tsunami response very difficult and challenging in 2004. However, this is not the case now. INCOIS, when they're in their talk, they will be explaining to us how India has grown exponentially in this tsunami early warning system. And it will be a great learning for that. In the DM Act 2005, the paradigm shift that we spoke about, it talks about a more proactive pre-disaster preparedness, mitigation, and improved capacities, response capacities approach. So it is also influenced, this particular paradigm shift is also influenced by the global best practices, which have established that strengthening preparedness and mitigation strategies would considerably reduce the vulnerability of disaster-prone communities and thereby reduce the risks associated with tsunamis in coastal areas. So guidelines have been prepared in recognition of the fact that even though it is a low probability event, it is capable of resulting in enormous loss of lives, loss of property, assets, and public infrastructure in the coastal areas. The main stakeholders in the tsunami risk management is the Ministry of Earth Sciences and the Department of Science and Technology, with their scientific and technical institutions such as Indian Meteorological Department, Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services, INCOIS, with whom today we are collaborating to hold this webinar, important webinar. Then National Institute for Ocean Technology, NIOT, then Integrated Coastal Area and Marine Management Directorate, ICMAM, then Center for Earth Science Studies, and many others are involved in this. But these were the main ones who are leading the charge. Here, I would like to say that it is very important that the local Panchayati Raj institutions and local communities must be associated in the coastal resources, management of coastal resources, and for safeguarding human safety and ecological integrity in the coastal areas. That way, we can find more acceptability among the community for any intervention that is being planned. And also enhancing the economic well-being of the fishing and the farming communities along the shoreline through an integrated bioshield program, that needs to be given a higher priority. And in medium term, integrated and ecologically socially sustainable coastal zone management system, it should be put in place jointly by government agencies and coastal communities. It has to be a participatory approach. And public awareness, training, capacity building of professionals will go a long way in developing resilience to tsunami and preparing the community to face the next tsunami better. With this, I will finish my initial keynote because I'm keen to hear to Dr. Srinivas and all other speakers will be coming after me. I once again thank Dr. Srinivas for collaborating with NIDM on such an important topic and educating the public, because we have large number of experts in academia who are part of the participants on such an important topic. Thank you so much. Over to you, Dr. Harjeet.
Thank you very much, sir, for your keynote address. Sir spoke about vulnerability of coastal state to natural hazard. And after 2004 tsunami, Indian government set up an institutional mechanism for tsunami risk reduction and retired adaptation. Thank you very much, sir. Now, I would like to call upon Dr. T. Sashan Kumar, Director INCOIS. He joined INCOIS in 2004 as a scientist C. Prior joining to INCOIS, he has also served in RRSC, Indian Space Research Organization. He penned several research articles in some of the most reputed national and international journals. He is decorated with several prestigious awards, to name of few: National Geosciences Award, Kalpana Chawla Memorial Award, Disaster Mitigation Award, and many more. With these words, I would request Dr. T. Srinivasan Kumar for his opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much to Ms. Harjeet Kaur. A very good morning, Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, Executive Director of NIDM, distinguished speakers, Pattabhi Ramarao, my colleague who is head of the Tsunami Warning Group, Dr. J. Radhakrishnan, IAS Principal Secretary, Revenue and Disaster Management, Government of Tamil Nadu, Professor Surya Prakash, NIDM, officials of NIDM, and several participants of this webinar. A very good morning to all of you. First of all, let me thank Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, Executive Director of NIDM, and colleagues at NIDM for organizing this very important webinar on tsunami risk reduction and resilience, and for inviting me to provide opening remarks. This event by NIDM and jointly by it highlights the importance that the government accords to disaster risk reduction activities in the country, specifically with respect to tsunamis. As Major Manoj Kumar Bindal already mentioned in his remarks, leveraging technology to enhance the efficiency of disaster risk management efforts is one of the very important aspects of the 10-point agenda announced by the Honorable Prime Minister during the Asian Ministerial Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction in 2016. And I'm very happy to note that today's webinar addresses this important aspect with distinguished speakers covering both upstream and downstream components of the end-to-end tsunami warning and mitigation system. The Great Indonesian Earthquake, which is of magnitude 9.2 of December 26, 2004, and the devastating tsunami, which is more commonly called as the Boxing Day tsunami, it actually caused an unprecedented loss of lives. About 230,000 people's lives were lost. Billions of dollars in damage was caused to properties across the entire Indian Ocean region. And in India alone, 16,000 lives were lost. And this event got etched in history as the deadliest the world has ever witnessed in recorded history. So those tsunami hazards in the Indian Ocean region are very low frequency as compared to other hazards like cyclones. Like, for example, every year we have one or two cyclones. They are more frequent, but not unlike tsunamis where they are not very frequent. But still, when they happen, they can be very devastating. And we are vulnerable. The Indian Ocean coastal regions, including India, are vulnerable to tsunamis. And recognizing this, the government of India made two very important and landmark decisions that provided the technical and policy framework under which the today's tsunami early warning system operates. On the technical front, the Ministry of Earth Sciences was directed to coordinate the establishment of a tsunami warning system in coordination with all the other scientific departments like the Department of Science and Technology, Department of Space, etc. And on the policy front, the Disaster Management Act 2005 was enacted, followed by the preparation of guidelines for the management of tsunamis by the National Disaster Management Authority in 2010, along with all the other stakeholders. So coming to the warning system itself, the Ministry of Earth Sciences established a state-of-the-art warning center at the Hyderabad-based Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services, where I'm located. And this was done in a record time of 2 years in collaboration with National Institute of Ocean Technology, ICMAM, Survey of India, National Remote Sensing Agency. And this system has been operational since 2007. So this provides the technical core of the warning system. The center is capable of detecting tsunamis happening anywhere around the globe and especially within Indian Ocean. We can detect those tsunamis within less than 10 minutes after any major earthquake in the Indian Ocean. And it has been functioning flawlessly since its inauguration in 2007. In addition to our responsibility for India, this center also provides tsunami warnings to all the other coastal countries in the Indian Ocean region. There are about 25 countries. We act as one of the tsunami service providers for all these countries, along with Australia and Indonesia. So this framework is established by the Intergovernmental Coordination Group for the Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning and Mitigation System. So this operates under the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of the UNESCO. And India, contributes significantly to the initiatives in the region. So INCOIS has established cutting-edge technology to detect tsunamis. So we have seismometers, we have undersea tsunami buoys, we have coastal tide gauges, we have state-of-the-art computing systems, modeling systems. So my colleague Pattabi will talk about all these things later in his talk, but I want to just reiterate that we have a very high-end, state-of-the-art warning center, which is actually one among the best in the world. And but the thing is, all this high-end technology and the best warning system will not be effective if public do not understand the warning and they do not respond appropriately. So the downstream community awareness and preparedness plays a crucial role in tsunami risk reduction and resilience. And the national, state, and district disaster management authorities, they come into play at this point, actually, to enhance the capacities of disaster management officials and communities, as well as training institutions such as NIDM. They play a very important role in this aspect, in the downstream aspects. As a technical agency, INCOIS also facilitates this process by facilitating workshops such as this one, jointly with NIDM. We organize training sessions for state and district level disaster management officials and other agencies. We also organize tsunami drills, ocean-wide tsunami drills, once every 2 years, and then national tsunami drills once every year, in coordination with all the states, with the NDMA, NIDM, and all disaster management agencies. And these drills are very important to strengthen the readiness to handle such tsunami emergency situations. So the last drill was in 2018. There was a national mega mock exercise which was done with MHA and NDMA in November 2017. And then the next upcoming drill, is going to be very shortly in October 2020. So INCOIS will communicate, and the MHA will communicate, and DMA will communicate with all of you regarding details of this drill, and it will be very useful to participate. And then one last thing that I would like to mention here on the downstream preparedness and enhancing resilience is a very new initiative, which is called the concept of Tsunami Ready. So this is an innovative concept that has been recently launched by the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of the UNESCO. And then we have developed guidelines for Tsunami Ready. And this Tsunami Ready provides a structured approach to building tsunami preparedness in the communities, in the coastal communities. And this is done as a collaborative project between public, community leaders, national and local emergency management agencies. Now, why this is very unique? All the time, when you talk about warning system, we generally think about technology, sensors, and all that upstream part. So this Tsunami Ready puts communities in the center of the whole warning system, because that is most important actually. So putting communities in the middle, you can then check against several indicators if the communities are really prepared, whether the communities can receive warning if there is a threat, whether the community has a community response plan, whether the community has sirens. So all these things, there are 11 indicators which the communities need to meet to be pronounced as tsunami ready. So recently, the Odisha State Disaster Management Authority has come forward and then piloted this program. It was actually a big effort that started in 2018. And very recently, IOC has recognized two communities in Venkatraipur in Odisha, and then Nolia Sahi in Odisha as being tsunami ready. So they have this UNESCO recognition now. And then there are several communities that are coming forward to implement this program. And INCOIS is happy to always guide with implementing such community preparedness programs. And why these are again important is these community tsunami ready programs, they not only help with tsunami preparedness, but they also help with other coastal hazard preparedness. Like if a community is ready for tsunamis, they are more or less ready for, to act against cyclones. So we are building their capacities. So this is a very important program that we will continue to pursue along with all the other disaster management agencies. And on the technical front, we are actually making a lot of improvements into the future. We are installing sensors called GNSS sensors to enhance the timeliness and accuracies of warnings. We are actually working on near field atypical tsunamis, because tsunamis can also be caused by landslides, submarine landslides, and then tsunamis, we give a warning in 10 minutes. But recently, in 2018, a tsunami happened in Indonesia, which is called the Palu tsunami, where tsunami waves came ashore in 3 minutes, which means people should be also prepared to identify the natural signs of a tsunami and respond appropriately if there are regions which have such a hazard. So INCOIS is also working on technical aspects of near field atypical events. So with these few words, I would like to thank all of you for participating in this seminar. I would like to thank NIDM, especially Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, for having me and inviting me to this webinar. And I wish you a successful webinar, and I'm sure there are interesting talks coming up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, to highlighting our participants about role of Ministry of Earth Sciences in early warning system prospects and NDMA that issued tsunami risk management guidelines to outline inter-agency roles and responsibilities, tsunami risk preparedness, mitigation and response. An effective tsunami early warning system is achieved when all persons in vulnerable coastal communities are prepared and respond appropriately and in a timely manner upon recognition that a potentially destructive tsunami is approaching. Timely tsunami warning issued by a recognized tsunami warning center are essential. With that, we have come to end of our inaugural session, and now we will move ahead with our technical session. During the technical session, there will be presentation, and once all the presentations are over, we will have question answer session at the end of the technical sessions. Your active participation is very important to us. Kindly Q&A window only to raise question. One more important announcement that participants having 60% and above attendance in Cisco WebEx platform will be eligible for certificates. No certificates of participations for attending training program via YouTube platform. For our first presentation, we have with us Dr. J. Radhakrishnan, IAS, Principal Secretary, Health and Family Welfare Department, Government of Tamil Nadu. J. Radhakrishnan is an Indian civil servant and administrator who is primarily known for his relief work in Nagapattinam and Thanjavur district during the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami, which gained worldwide appreciation. His administrative skills were lauded by former American President Bill Clinton when he visited Nagapattinam district as the United Nations Secretary General Special envoy for tsunami recovery on May 2007, May 27, 2005. During his long tenure as a health secretary, Tamil Nadu Health Department reached few important milestones in maternal mortality rate, organ donations. He did commendable task in preventing outbreak of epidemics after Chennai flood and controlling the rise of dengue cases. Since February 2019, he has taken over as a Principal Secretary Transport Department in Government of Tamil Nadu. Now I would like to call upon Dr. J. Radhakrishnan for his presentation. Over to you, sir.
Okay, good morning, everybody. And first of all, I respected Major General Bindalji, respected Director INCOIS Srinivas, Dr. Harjeet, and my dear friend Dr. Surya Prakash and Patabi Ram, and all the participants. I will try my best to share my content. If it comes through, that is okay. Otherwise, I will read through my presentation.
Okay, sir.
Just I'll. No? Okay. Okay. What is that? Are you able to see the presentation?
Sir, you are visible, but your presentation is not coming, sir.
Yes, it is. It has come. The presentation is there. I can see.
Start.
Visible.
Please press F5. F5.
View.
Sir, please make your presentation full screen by pressing F5.
F5. Anyway, I think with this, I'll try to start with this itself. At least the slide show you are able to see, na?
Dr. Radhakrishnan, kindly press F5. It will go into slideshow. Just press F5.
Office effects Microsoft F5
Okay. Yeah, actually, some technical problem is saying that
Function key is there, no? On the top row. F5.
Top row F5 we are pressing, but it is not coming. We've been trying to press it.
Okay. And then this presentation, that slideshow, if it is. Otherwise, you can go ahead with it.
Can you?
Huh?
Can you?
So I'll keep continuing. Basically,
Yeah, now it is okay. Now it is
okay. So
yeah.
okay. So you see, basically, I think we had an excellent inaugural session where they have touched upon all the important things. I have basically come because unfortunate tsunami I had handled during that time. I was a neighboring district collector. I am not going through the measures. I'm just showing you because quite a lot of our participants would not have been younger. What happened is just a scene of this many people would have seen, but the idea is showing this video is not to show that this video exists, but if you look at the people who are standing there, as a tsunami is coming, nobody is aware that time that what was a tsunami. They were just looking at it, water had gone back. And this is the famous Kanyakumari thing. Nobody is even running to the high ground. That's the sight I just wanted you all to appreciate. And in Tamil, he has been saying that, I am being dragged inside. That's the voice which you are hearing. And actually, this final wave will be much more higher than even the Vivekananda rock. Next slide. As we go to the next slide, why tsunami? Actually, though our NIDM director, everybody has contexted, I actually want to pick up on that. That day I was Tanjavur collector, which is next district to Nagapattinam. That day it was unknown to India. I even felt a shake at 6 a.m., but nobody reacted to it. It was stealthy and ferocious. And by 9 when it hit, nobody was aware, and being a Sunday, it resulted in huge loss of life, property and livelihood. Touch wood today, because of Government of India's effort, setting up of INCOIS, all these things, in 10 minutes you are able to do. And I am very confident that, if we respect what happened that day and recollect regularly, in these 10 minutes, we would have saved the lives which happened. Next. This is again the next site. This is Nagapattinam town, and generally when a tsunami hits, people get hurt. And this is the site of a general hospital. And you can see the nurses lying on top. And this is a wave coming down through an unprofessional camera. Somebody has taken that, and up to first floor, the water is receding. Next slide. And this is the site after the water has receded. This is Velangani. Why I am bringing all this to the notice of all the distinguished participants is, many of us, generally after a disaster, that tends to fade. An event which happens once in it's not as frequent as cyclone, we tend to forget it. Next slide. Again, if you look at the challenges, I was immediately asked to rush from Tanjavur to Nagapattinam because it had, through a microwave phone, the sub-collector called me. This is the first site when I went to the GH in an unaffected place, 900 bodies. And the roads broken, all the buildings gone. Next. And approach roads are totally in the coastal area. Next. Why we use it as a case study, particularly the Nagapattinam, for when you come up to resilience. Next. Nagapattinam is a very peculiar place. It juts out like a nose just above Sri Lanka. So most cyclones, when it hits south, very rarely you have hitting it in Kanyakumari or Rameshwaram, which are all protected by Sri Lanka. But Nagapattinam and Kadalur are the flash points as far as concerned. History, you can see the number of big cyclones and the deaths which you have seen. I have not included the Gaja cyclones total deaths. It has not been updated. Next. And again, whenever this disaster strike, it is a place which is known for flood. October 2004 was there. When I talk of resilience, next. Again, in 2005 flood is there. It is frequently the challenges. So when we have to look into these challenges, which a district like Nagapattinam, which generally is told as a Florida as far as India is concerned, because most of the cyclone hit. What happened in Nagapattinam? The challenge was 6,065 people died. Totally in, I think India, roughly 13,000 people, almost 8,018 died in Tamil Nadu, India, in Tamil Nadu, out of which 76% of death was in Nagapattinam. Next. Again, this was the unprecedented disaster scale. Next. These are the challenges when I landed up in the district from a neighboring district. This is a site. You can see. Next. Again, this is a very, not a human right oriented slide, but for the participant to realize what happens. Next. This is the way, that could be the car which you say people are bringing bodies from the coastal areas, dumped as if it is a, awful distribution thing. Next. This is the site of relief camps. There are thousands of them. The way people are. Why this we are showing is to end, the last few slides will be on the resilience. What happened? Background is all the 73 habitations in the coast, 187 kilometer coast got affected. Access was damaged. Many reported dead, majority being women and children. Power cut off, water supply affected, several villages flattened, large scale panic. People are not aware. Area staff overwhelmed. This is a very important point that, revenue inspectors wiped it. Conservancy staff, sanitary inspector, people's houses destroyed. And the entire staff was exhausted after dealing with floods in October and November 2004. They were just recovering. Then inundated, so many people had to be evacuated. And the biggest point, if you look at 4,592 of the 6,068 people died in a 10-kilometer stretch between Nagapattinam and Velangani. That is why we always say that, when we say that, Banda MHA is the ground zero, as far as tsunami was concerned, Nagapattinam is termed as ground zero because the per square kilometer death was in the range of 450 in some concentrated areas. Immediate concern, disposal of dead body, all these are standard thing, prevention of next. What initially, these are lessons. Local administration, we then realized that, they are overwhelmed. We called in Navy, Red Cross, relief centers are opened, but round the clock disposal of body was organized. Next. Honorable CM visited on the same day. Next. Rain abates in the morning. Why I'm recollecting is these are issues many people tend to forget. Helicopter reconnaissance was done to find where bodies were there. Food was airdropped in unreachable areas. Sanitary workers were brought in. Neighboring districts we brought in. Bodies strewn around were brought in one place. But the army was called in. Last 3 points if you see. Despite best intentions and efforts, there was large-scale public outcry reported in several unreached areas and press portrayed initial chaos. Next. Third day, we realized disaster. I was there from day one, assisted the neighboring district. Then I went and secretaries were brought in. Incident command post was set up at collector's office, and the incident command system, which actually had just started in NIDM and all had started those trainings. People had gone for the training in LBSNA along with NA. We put in that place. Next. Incident commander doubles up an operational chief. 73, what we decided was divided the 73 habitation into 7 contiguous habitation each and brought in a collector level person to head along with a minister with self-contained teams, and we gave financial flexibility. Next. The point which I'm asking others to notice, for all disasters, we tend to bring in people, but very rarely. Tsunami was one instance where they gave the project leaders financial flexibility. From TR27, money was given to them, and they were provided officials who need not go back to collector for sanction. So that helped in having 7 villages having a collectorate level supervision along with a minister. Next. This I'm just showing the level of mobilization of IAS officers and the teams. Next. This why I'm showing is people should say that these were people were made in charge so that the collector is supported. Area monitoring teams. Next. Again, we mobilized large scale machinery, mobilized just like it happens in other things. The website was started. Next. Removal. These all things started going on a little bit more effectively. Next. Next. These are all, I think everybody knows, I don't want to repeat, we started cooking food, started within 10 days, some of the schools, so that normal life starts. Next. We provided flexibility in restoring light by providing flexibility in rates to be given to the laborers. Next. And, instead of that old, very first few days complicated thing, we put both a manual and also a website, digital photographs uploaded. We started making it in a much more organized fashion. Distribution was done. Next. And police, everybody was doing all round work. Next. Next. Again, we had a lot of visitors. The present deputy CM, that time was PWD minister, various IAS officers, teams started doing restoration, the governor visiting. Next. Again, using debris, another example with the army, which we tried in the backwaters. Next. Medical response was very critical, and it was divided into 3 stages: immediate and also on trauma care and mental health. Next. Next. This mobilization, everybody has. UNICEF and UNDP was invited. Actually, it was like we decided that instead of being very possessive about it, anybody coming with capacity, they were invited. They did a rapid needs assessment, and they came. They said, we ourselves will start building up the temporary toilets. Next. No epidemic was basically because we utilized the capacity. Next. These are the kind of works. Next. Next. Again, media management is very important. With that time itself 24/7, and today it is multiple by 7. So we strengthened it. Most importantly in this slide is regular field coverage of governmental rescue and also non-governmental activities were arranged. And most importantly, we ensured transparency. Media center was set up, and it was not only a one-sided positive coverage. If they brought in something negative also, it was attended to immediately. Next. End of massive, immediate relief is always there. Unlike the present pandemic, most of the disasters give you an opportunity that once the disaster is there, we started focusing on other issues like confidence building, transport, opening up schools. Next. Special focus. This is one area which gets neglected. In Tsunami, we found the challenges of orphans, semi-orphans, destitute women, husbands no more, widows, old age people, physically, mentally handicapped person, revival, and most importantly, women who are 14 to 18 years, children at least could not realize the loss, but 14 to 18-year-old destitute women. These are all issues which you should not neglect. Next. Care of orphans, these all were built in our relief program, and in fact, Government of India and World Bank and many agencies joined together, and most importantly, NGOs. Next. Orphans is the challenges which we failed, almost 1,250 on orphans. Next. We created a new orphanage, till now it runs, of course, not with Tsunami children, but with the other regular orphans. Old age pensions were done, doubling up of nutrition was done. Next. These are all some of the challenges, both on the social side. Next. Camps were differently abled. Next. What happened was immediately by 31/12, we could restore basic connectivity, and by another 1 month, we could do another 1 month basic relief could be a long way to go. Next. Temporary shelter. Then we realized that, we cannot keep people in relief camps, so we had to build in temporary shelters in areas. That was the main issues, and decided on building permanent shelters also. Next. Psychosocial support was extended. Many activities were done that we can share separately also with the team. Next. Now, this is where the resilience aspect comes. What happened was, when we decided to build back, the Government of India and various international and the national agencies was build back better. Large scale NGO government coordination was there. This is one area where NGO was given, empowered to work with government, where they were allowed to sign agreements with the district administration with the consent of thing, and they were able to bring. Plus, World Bank and other schemes were basically to look at a very planned kind of redevelopment. Fisheries, to bring back fisheries in organized way, agriculture, removing the sand and then bringing it. So everything had a resilient approach inside it, and also for the agriculture laborers. Schools and the present concept of multi-hazard shelters got its seeding during tsunami, post-tsunami constructions. Next. Again, if you look at ADB's focus was World Bank's focus was more on immediate construction in a building. ADB's was on strengthening the livelihood measures. So that focus also helped. Next. Again, IFAD is again a very long project where micro and rural finance were there, community resource management, which our INCOIS director was also mentioning, and the director NIDM was mentioning. Large scale involvement of community was done. Next. Again, these were some of the visible development. I'll go to the next. The last slide is most important thing. Second last slides. Roads relayed were basically if you look at all the items are important. Now, using self-help group, multi-hazard resident general hospital. The next tsunami or flood comes means the hospital will not get inundated. All the houses had multi-hazard features, including insurance and also escape routes. Roads relayed, bridges were constructed with a plan to have an escape route, because we found earlier Nagapattinam, many villages had only one. Similarly, in worst affected Akkarapeta, a seawall was constructed, and many places shelter-built plantations, eco-friendly plantations have been raised. And vulnerability reduction in coastal community as a program was implemented with World Bank assistance, looking at next level of protection. Next. These were some of the planned, unplanned houses getting destroyed was the site which you saw. This land use planning and zoning without compromising on the need of fishermen. Next. of the houses in very, very congested labor colony, multi-level, one floor, double floor houses are also built. Next. These are disaster resilient houses which are built. Next. Again, if you look at this lower level bridge which was blocking, that has been removed, and a very big port has come, fishing port, and a high level bridge has been constructed, and shelter level plantations are also put up. They are all now big plantations. Next. And again, in the information kiosks, new fish landing centers, schools became multi-hazard shelters. Next. Again, these are up to two. What we realized was a 2-floor high sand dune had protected, and there was hardly one death or two deaths, whereas when there was no shelter belt, the deaths was very high. So that has been protected sand dunes, while in other areas shelter belt plantations are raised. Next. Again, worst area where it's a heavy, also built in seawall, particularly in Akarapete and Kichangupam, where 2,500 people died, and they are very close to the sea. Next. And again, instead of very small boats, steel boats and resistant, resilient boats were also introduced along with insurance. Again, self-help group, they started having backward linkages on the necessity, like block for reconstruction to build in resilience. Next. School-based disaster risk education was introduced. Next. Again, these are some of the visitors, but the last few slides are more important. Next. Madam again came. Next. All over India, we had Bill Clinton visiting, appreciating a lot of work done by the people, the resilience shown by them. Next. He's basically appreciating the people there. Next. Late president, he spent almost a day and worked on a very important thing which I learned. A press asked him that, why you are not able to build 50,000 houses within 6 months. He said, gentlemen, please understand, now let the collector not answer, I will answer. It is not a reconstruction or a building construction program, but a habitat redevelopment program. That is the kind of clarity which he brought. Next. For such, what lessons we learned? For such disasters of unimaginable magnitude, we should immediately induct capable official manpower material. Role of armed services, I still always believe. Now, we have very good NDRF contingent, but we should immediately, when we get overwhelmed, also bring in NDRF, Army, Navy. Then role of corporate in peace times, bring in. We had Kudambalam giving cranes, we had ONGC giving crane, but many a time they don't get documented in the plan. We have to update these at all levels on a regular way. Reassess resource. Managing hostile public, we need to tell our administration that understand that they are in such long grief. Somebody has lost his dear one, somebody has lost his property. NGOs have been a very big strength. I firmly believe that, working in a complementary fashion with NGO is the best way forward, because they have empathy and capacity, but they may not have funds. So that is where I think we should do. Similarly, media, once we start partnering them, support us, victims to be encouraged and co-opted in relief activity, benefited greatly from services of voluntary organization. Next. Continuously, we have to update disaster preparedness at all level, benefited from independent document. Many times when we document our work, it is only positives. I tell that, temporary shelters are of not much, we have to improve a lot. Again, we have to constantly reassess the needs. So these are all lessons which we should openly learn, and if an independent person comes, it helps. Next. NIDM did a very good study both on Kumbakonam fire tragedy and even in Tsunami. They all visited us. In fact, the NIDM director came. Cook food supply. When I come back, institution created under a DM Act like DM, I should come up with implementable plans as per the national policy and guidelines. Ready reckoner is needed. Many times, we have a very good book, but at the grassroots level, they need simple, understandable instructions, what they need to do. Most importantly, community-based disaster preparedness is the key, and robust early warning system on the other side, and development of standard operating procedures are all linked to each other. These, if we keeping on guiding people and telling our DDMAs, revising them and, refreshing their memory, it will go a long way. Next. Are we prepared for unknown disasters? Even that time I was telling that, we are very, Nagapattinam is very, very resilient as far as flood and cyclone is concerned. But when suddenly tsunami came, They were caught unawares. No, we are prepared. I am sure that with INCOIS, in a minute we get the alert and the systems are in place. But what about a newer disaster? Disasters together. And today's pandemic is another lesson. Next. What we again find a challenge at the cutting edge level for administration is, despite our best efforts, people continue to live with risk. They say that, we would like to, we continue for there, instead of, talking only about DRR. We need to also ensure that early warning system is there to evacuate them in time. Sharing information, knowledge sharing should. The biggest tribute we can give for people who have lost their lives is to refresh what happened, so that in case of a fresh disaster, in case Orissa super cyclone was a very important event. Gujarat earthquake was an important event. Similarly, this tsunami. Similarly, many NGOs and UNDP project, UNICEF projects, again NIDM's material, knowledge base should be shared, and people who attend them should be training of trainers who go back and sharing. Of course, highlighting the need of safe buildings. Why I'm saying is, 20 meters from the sea, a building which was resilient survived, whereas almost 1 kilometer inside in the coast, without any safety, a building without any protection had been totally destroyed, which you saw. Haiti and Chile earthquake comparison, we say Chile earthquake was 10 times higher. This happened somewhere in 2009-10. But Haiti was far lesser, but 2 lakh people, right? Chile hardly 700. So this is a lesson which we need to constantly tell people. A preparedness can save life. And I'm really thankful to INCOIS that, today, if such a tsunami comes, I am very sure that, considering the media alert and the INCOIS alert, we will be able to evacuate people. Next. Even country like Japan found it difficult when March 11 earthquake came, because along with tsunami, fire accident happened, and earthquake, tsunami, fire accident with Fukushima nuclear disaster. Similarly, need to implement building bylaws. Somewhere down the line, this is not an earthquake-related earthquake, has a link to tsunami. But in India, North India, and several other places, earthquake building bylaws are something which people look at Shimla, look at many places where we are sitting on a very risky thing. Need to invest in risk reduction measures. Somewhere risk reduction, climate change is equally important, but gets a lot more importance. Whereas risk reduction is taken as a more a byline in cabinet note, saying that risk reduction measures have been included in the project. What exactly is included is not clear. Many highways, roads have become like, create artificial flooding. Need to have robust early warning system. And, many times in the village level warning system, the batteries are not replaced. So we need to constant. That is where this ocean drill is very useful. Need for greater awareness and coordination, participating in design. It is not anymore an affected people, government, or an interested issue. It is everybody's problem. Next, ground reality. Even now, despite so much of brainstorming and guidance by NDMA, NIDM, and the individual warning agencies, systematic effort include DRR is still missing. Look at Karachi flood last week. The same thing happened 2015 in Chennai. Similarly, things happen in generally the memory seems to be rescue and relief is the focus areas. They should be focus areas. But unless we make DDMA, SDMA vibrant and not linked to disaster period, I'm very happy that now SDMA meetings get regularly. For pandemic, our Honorable Chief Minister conducted 14 SDMA meetings. This was not the case even in 2007-8. That time people had not recognized the NDMA used to have meetings. These are lessons. Need for effective coordination, visible common sense, result-oriented administration. And men, material, money issue. Cutting edge needs men, cutting edge needs material. In case something is affected, other districts should immediately pump in the vehicles. Gaja cyclone, we found we needed 100 JCBs. Need for effective interstate, interdistrict coordination. This is not related to tsunami. Need to make SDMS, DDMS operational in the real sense of term, not in the real sense of meetings. Need have a complementary gap-filling approach among departments and not competitive. This is one thing where people are dying and people are maimed. So here we need to take everybody's knowledge base, including other knowledge people who are working in plants, who are intellectuals, who are in academics. Next. way forward. Develop, implement, have specific roles and build capacities through focus tracks. Use skills and responsibility developed by integrating them. Have such capacities even among government. Like, UN agencies have such capacities. Suppose you have a capable person, enlist him, and he is willing to go to volunteer, he should be allowed and provide. He can take decision, provide necessary equipment, have redundant communications which may be tested, develop last mile connectivity to communicate early warning, and create awareness to ensure that individual institutions also have plan. Next. Again, these are next. These are all there. I just next. I would like to finish because next. What I mentioned previous slide. Mandatory, whether it is fire, whether it is tsunami, we should. I went to US. I found that there is a drill for leher when an entire mountainside falls. Doesn't happen. That person says that if it really happens, we will also be dead. But they do the drill. Unfortunately, many a times, of course, now NIDM, NDMA are making it mandatory. Others should be made to realize that that is important. Many a time in fire drill, if it is not done, we find the escape route locked. For this, clear guidelines must be given for continuous updating monitoring. Next. These are some of the evacuation zone, evacuation shelter, mock drills by NDRF, prepared memory. Every year, we need to check up whether it is being done. And also, next, last slide, I think it will be awareness campaign, training officials, mason training, DM plan, DM teams, mock drills. Everything is equally important and cannot be ignored. Last slide. Snapshot of various activities. Next. This I am ending. This is 1 year in the place where you saw the dead bodies. I always say that we have a responsibility to the same fishermen and fisherwomen who lost almost 2,500 lives in Akrapete. 1 year later, you see the resilience. The duty of administrators, professionals, NGOs, UN agencies, Government of India is we should respect them. We should respect the dead. And we should say that, they, despite so much of loss of life, they come back. And they do. So if we all join together and we have that humility to understand that every disaster is a tough disaster, we should all work together. It will be a very safe future we can develop. Last slide. This again is a girl we found as a 3-month-old baby whom I am holding. Her name is Meena. Now she is doing her degree. She doesn't know her parent. She doesn't know where she came from. Like that, there are still 3 people. Rest of the people extended family has taken. Government thing. So these are the people who are the victims of disaster. This is a poignant slide which always make me realize that there is so much we have done. We should be proud for what Government of India has done, what NDMA has done, what NIDM has done, what MHA has done, what INCOIS like agencies and early warning Indian Meteorological Department has really done great work. All these agencies, but still NGOs are doing. Government, but there is so much more to do. With that slide, I would like to end and thank NIDM and the director and INCOIS and all the participants for giving an opportunity to share this experience. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for showing video of real scenario during 2004 tsunami. Nagapattinam in Tamil Nadu was high risk vulnerability in tsunami 2004. Real on-ground scenario of relief work in Nagapattinam and Thanjavur district during 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake tsunami is highlighted by sir. He underlined that vulnerable groups such as orphans, children, women, old age group, etc. need special attention in any disaster. And there is a need to build effectively on our experience and mechanism for mobilizing vulnerable groups towards greater preparation in facing disasters and emergency situations. Thank you very much. And we are very fortunate to learn from your experience and expertise, sir. Thank you very much. And moving ahead, we have with us Patabi Ramarao, Scientist F, Head of TWG INCOIS. Sir joined INCOIS in 2001 as a Scientist B. He is awardee of numerous awards, namely Indian National Geospatial Award, National Award for E-Governance for INCOIS website and Ocean Portal under the category Best Governance Website. He penned more than 20 papers in national and international journals. Now, I would like to call upon Dr. Patabi for his presentation. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Harjit. I'm going to share the presentation now. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Harjit, once again. And at the outset, I would like to thank Executive Director Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal and Professor Surya Prakash for giving us this opportunity to organize this very important webinar on tsunami risk reduction and resilience. You have seen the presentation thanks to Dr. J. Radhakrishnan, Principal Secretary from Tamil Nadu. He has shown the impact of tsunami, and then he has also shown this the post-disaster recovery activities and all, and it shows the intensity of the tsunami and the impact that it can pose to the coastal communities. So he has rightly touched upon two important points, like having robust early warning system and then community-based preparedness and last mile connectivity. So I'm going to talk basically on the Indian tsunami early warning system, which I'm going to touch upon these points, as well as the point, one point, the leveraging technologies for efficient management of disasters, which is one of the 10-point agenda of the Prime Minister. And also, I'm going to touch upon some of the activities that INCOIS initiated on tsunami risk reduction and resilience. So I'm going to briefly talk about what is tsunami and the risk assessment and various components of tsunami early warning system and our activities on risk reduction and resilience in, as capacity building programs, workshops, and then the Tsunami Ready program, which Dr. Srinivas Kumar, Director INCOIS, has mentioned, the recent initiative, which is very, very important as far as building the resilient communities are concerned. And also, I'm going to briefly talk on challenges that we are facing and the initiatives that we have taken up. So, coming to the tsunami, what is tsunami? Tsunami in Japanese means harbor waves, because you know that Japan is more frequently impacted by tsunamis because of the earthquakes that are happening in the Pacific Ring of Fire. And generally these ports and harbors in the Japan, they experience the waves, oscillations in the harbors. That's how it is called as harbor wave. Otherwise, if you see the scientific definition of this tsunami, it is a system of ocean gravity waves formed as a result of large-scale displacement of sea surface, and it travels long distances without losing energy. So basically, the characteristics of the tsunami, they are long wavelength waves, which has got wavelengths of about several hundred kilometers and periods of few minutes to about an hour. And the tsunami wave travels with the jet speed, approximately 500 to 1,000 kilometers per hour in deep ocean, and it grows to a few tens of meters when it reaches the shore because of the friction that is facing because of the bathymetry. And the height of the tsunami wave in the open ocean, it is less than a meter. But as it approaches the coast, depending on the intensity of the magnitude of the earthquake, then it may rise to a few meters, few tens of meters. So if you see this animation, like basically the causes for tsunamis are the major cause is the tsunamis are generated by the earthquakes that are happening in the seafloor. So, and also tsunamis can be generated by the landslides. It's called marine landslides, and volcanic eruptions also can create tsunamis. One such example is the recent Anak Krakatau volcano eruption in the Indonesia, which has caused a tsunami. and also meteoroid impacts. And then we also have the atypical tsunamis. These are called atypical tsunamis, the tsunamis that are caused by the landslides, submarine landslides, volcanic eruptions, and meteoroid impacts. These are called atypical tsunamis. So generally, deep ocean tsunami, as I mentioned, it has got longer wavelengths, travels fast with small amplitude, but it doesn't affect ships within the open ocean. But as it approaches, it creates severe damages to the infrastructure as well as casualties. So vulnerability of the Indian Ocean coastline for oceanogenic disasters. So if you see that Indian Ocean, as previous speakers have mentioned, that tsunami it can impact regional. It is not a very specific to certain location, unlike your earthquakes or the cyclones. Of course, they are also having impact of a few hundreds to thousands of kilometers, but tsunamis have got impact on the basin-wise impact. So if you see the vulnerability of the Indian Ocean coastline, Indian Ocean covers 20% of the world ocean's area. There are 36 nations and 3 continents share this coast, and many of them are developing countries. And more than 1.5 billion population lives around these coastal areas. And we have got about 66,500 kilometers coastline. Again, 40% of the global coastline is shared by the Indian Ocean rim countries. So, and this Indian Ocean, as you know, that now most of the coastal areas are low-lying and vulnerable to oceanogenic disasters such as tsunamis, storm surges, and sea level rise due to the climate changes. And also, Indian Ocean is the ground for cyclogenesis, and 13% of the cyclones in the seas around India and the Arabian Sea or Bay of Bengal. 30% of the world cyclones they generate in this region and create damages to the coastline. And coming to the Indian coastline, we have about 64 million people live within 10 meters of low elevation coastal zone, and there are about 3,800 fishing villages. There are about 12 major ports, 200 minor ports, and we also have the fragile ecosystem of mangroves and other ecosystem, approximately 5,000 square kilometers. So these are highly vulnerable to these oceanogenic disasters. And if you see the tsunamis, there were few events in the past, but we were not aware about those events till we have witnessed this 2004 tsunami, which has resulted in 238,000 casualties, including about 51,000 people were missing, and about 1.5 million people were displaced in 14 countries. And in India, we have about more than 10,000 people, and you have seen the impact that it has created and the loss of lives, which Dr. Radhakrishnan has presented, Nagapattinam being the most impacted area. Coming to the Indian Ocean, we have 2 potential tsunami-zenic zones, which is called Andaman Sumatra subduction zone, which are very active as far as earthquakes are concerned. And then we have the Makran subduction zone in the Arabian Sea, where earthquakes can trigger tsunamis. As I mentioned, we have some historical tsunamis prior to 2004. There were some earthquake which has generated tsunami in 1881, and then 2004. Then we have earthquakes that have created minor tsunamis after 2004. And similarly, there is one earthquake in 1945 in Makran subduction zone, which we have some records, but we are still looking for some more evidences that it has caused a tsunami and created impact on the west coast of India and as well as the countries sharing the northwestern Indian Ocean region. So the previous speakers, they have mentioned about the unprecedented damage that December 26, 2004 tsunami, which is called as the Boxing Day tsunami, has created. So as mentioned, the tsunami is the worst tsunami ever recorded in the history, and the magnitude is 9.3, which is the second strongest earthquake ever recorded on a seismograph. And the earthquake lasted for 10 minutes. Again, it is the longest lasting earthquake in the history. As I mentioned, we have 2.3 lakh casualties and people, and there is a huge damage to the infrastructure. The reasons for huge loss, if you see, many nations in the Indian Ocean region, we do not know what is tsunami till 2004. And we do not have any preparedness programs in place prior to 2004. And there was no tsunami early warning system in India at that time. And also, in ignorance of these natural signs of tsunami led to inappropriate actions. So coming to the risk assessment, as I mentioned, we have two tsunami-zonic zone regions. One is the Andaman-Sumatra subduction zone, and the other one is the Makran subduction zone. So depending on the earthquake location and magnitude of the earthquake, it takes, if something happens, in the Andaman-Sumatra subduction zone, if the earthquake of magnitude more than 6.5, it has a potential to generate tsunami. So if something happens, some earthquake happens in this Andaman-Sumatra subduction zone, we have only 20 to 30 minutes time for Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and then we have about 2 to 3 hours time to the mainland of India. And similarly, if some earthquake happens in the Makran subduction zone, which has a potential to generate tsunami, we have only, again, 2 to 3 hours time to take any measure. So this is the risk that is involved. The time available for us is 2 to 3 hours, unlike other natural disasters. If you take cyclones, we have a lead time of maybe 5 to 10 days. We know that there is a cyclogenesis and all, and then there are the bulletins or advisories are being issued by the meteorological department. But in case of tsunami, we have only 20 minutes for the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and then 2 to 3 hours for the mainland. So we need to, these are the golden hours that are available for us to take measures, to issue the tsunami bulletins, as well as the disaster management agencies to take necessary actions to evacuate the coastal population. So recognizing the importance of having an early warning system, the government of India entrusted the responsibility of setting up of tsunami early warning system in India. The responsibility is given to Ministry of Earth Sciences, and in collaboration with the major participating institutions like India Meteorological Department, National Institute of Oceanography, National Center for Coastal Research, which it was called as Integrated Coastal Marine Area Management, Survey of India, Department of Space through NRSC and ISRO, and INCOIS, Ministry of Home Affairs, NDMA, and Coastal States. So Ministry of Earth Sciences, INCOIS being the National Center for Providing Ocean Information Services and Advisory, National Center for Ocean Information and Advisory Services. The ministry has entrusted the responsibility of setting up of the tsunami early warning system with INCOIS. INCOIS, in collaboration with all these national agencies, we have set up this tsunami early warning system. The Indian tsunami early warning system was set up in 2007 to provide early warning for tsunamis. So the tsunami early warning system comprises different components. The first thing is the ocean, the observing networks to detect the earthquakes, where we have the seismic network, which I'm going to talk briefly. And then we have the sea level network, which has got tsunami buoys and tide gauges for monitoring the sea levels. And we also have the communication channels to get this data in real time. We use various communication modes to receive this data in real time. We use VSAT connectivities, we use INSAT communication, we use GPRS, INMARSAT to get this data from the observing network. And then we also have the modeling component where we need to see once there is an earthquake which has a potential to generate tsunami, then we have, by taking the observations, then we have to run the models, and then we have to provide information on the wave arrivals and the amplitude of the wave that is reaching at different coastal points. So we have bathymetry, topography, and then models to get this information. And other component which is very important as far as tsunami risk reduction and resilience is concerned, and also the connecting with the communities, the stakeholders, is like the capacity building. to understand our bulletins and to take necessary measures for the evacuation in case of there is any tsunami. And also we have a strong component of research and development, to understand the challenges that we are facing in understanding the behavior of the tsunami. So then we also have a strong R&D components for understanding the failure tsunami, modeling, and utilization of the data that are coming from the state-of-the-art observing networks. And then we have tsunami warnings. And this is the Tsunami Early Warning Center, which was set up at Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services in 2007. We are operational from October 2007, and the center is operated on 24/7, and we receive heterogeneous data from variety of sensors, as I mentioned, seismic network, the sea level network, and then we acquire the data, we process it, and then analyze it, and then generate advisories and dissemination. As Director INCOIS has mentioned, we have the state-of-the-art information and communication technology. We have high-end computing facilities to receive, process, and analyze, and then provide these tsunami advisories to the stakeholders. And coming to the seismic network, which is very important component of the observing network, we start acting on if there is an earthquake. So the seismic network, we continuously monitoring the earthquakes that are happening all over the globe. And we receive the data from real-time seismic monitoring network of 17 broadband seismic stations set up by India Meteorological Department. Now it is looked after by the National Center for Seismology, as well as we have the research network from about 100 stations also that are coming in real time. And we also receive the data from about 400 international stations in real time. And you see, these are the stations that we receive data in real time. And these triangles are the seismic stations. And the color of the seismic station, the cyan, indicates the latency of the data that is coming in real time. Cyan means we are receiving the data within 20 seconds. So in real time we are getting, and then the different colors shows that latency of the data that is coming into the tsunami early warning system. And we also have different softwares like Seascomp and Bulletin Hydra to acquire, process, and auto-locate the location of the earthquake, and then issue the bulletins. So this is very important component of the tsunami early warning system, where we monitor the earthquakes that are happening in all over the globe. So the next observing component is sea level network, where we have 7 tsunami buoys deployed by Indian National Center for Ocean Information Services, as well as National Institute of Ocean Technology, our sister concern under Ministry of Earth Sciences, which is at Chennai. We jointly have set up this tsunami buoy network in the Indian Ocean, particularly in the Bay of Bengal region, where we have the potential tsunami zonic zones like Andaman Sumatra subduction zone, and then Makaran subduction zone. The tsunami buoys, basically they confirm if there is an earthquake which generates the tsunami, the buoy network will confirm that no, it has generated tsunami. So the buoys, they transmit data in real time on the sea level. If there is in normal cases, it routinely monitors the sea level, and if there is any earthquake that has triggered the tsunami, then it gets into the tsunami mode, and then we come to know that that the earthquake has generated the tsunami. So when it comes to the coastal region, to confirm that the tsunami wave arrived, so we have set up these sea level stations jointly with the Survey of India earlier, and now we are managing this entire network. So we have set up 36 tide gauges all along the Indian coast, basically to confirm that if it has generated the tsunami, the sea level network will confirm that as it has the tsunami waves arrived at different coastal points, and also it confirms that on the arrival of the arrival time of the wave, as well as it also gives us the height of the tsunami that reached at different points of course. So in addition to our national tsunami network, we also receive 300 stations, tide gauge stations data in real time, because as I mentioned, tsunami is not a local phenomena, it is a global phenomena. So we need to have more and more data to get conformity on that, that tsunami has arrived. And also we receive data from 50 international tsunami buoys, which are in the Indian Ocean deployed by other countries, as well as the global ocean. So this sea level network will basically confirm that now the earthquake has generated tsunami, and also it tells about that the confirmation on the tsunami that is arriving at different points. So the next component of tsunami early warning system is the modeling, ocean modeling, which I have mentioned. So we cannot run the models in real time. If there is an earthquake which has a potential to generate tsunami, we cannot run the model, because we can run, but it takes some time. But the time which I have mentioned, only 2 to 3 hours. So we need to give the information with the minimum possible time. That is within 10 minutes we are supposed to provide the information on whether it's going to generate tsunami or not. So I'll explain on the bulletins that are that the Tsunami Early Warning Center is issuing. But when it comes to the modeling component, no, we run these models for these subduction regions, and we have about 1,400 unit sources of 100 by 50 kilometer area representing these ruptures of earthquake magnitude 7.5, slip as 1 meter. So we have generated a scenario database. It is called Open Ocean Propagation Scenario Databases for this particular magnitude of earthquake, and we have about 50,000 scenarios which we have generated, and our decision support system can pick the right scenario if there is an earthquake, and then issue the advisories for the 4,380 coastal focus points. Now these are different bulletins, that the threat maps and what we are generated using the ocean model. Similarly, we also have earthquakes that are happening in the other oceans like Pacific or Atlantic, and for that we have not generated the scenario database, but we can run the model in real time if there is an earthquake that has a potential to generate tsunami in the other oceans like Pacific or Atlantic. So that we can give in operationally, we can run and provide. Of course, we have initiated R&D, and we have experimented successfully for running the model in real time, and we are going to make it operational soon, where we can give, in addition to the tsunami arrival times, the amplitudes. In addition to that, we also can give extent of coastal inundation caused by tsunamis or storm surges. So that has been successfully, we have experimented, and soon we are going to make it operational. So we'll be the first country to provide such information. And once we have located this earthquake and there is a potential to generate tsunami, then we have a standard operating procedure in place, which we have developed jointly with based on the NIDM guidelines. So generally, the Indian Tsunami Early Warning Center issues the tsunami bulletins. If the earthquake is magnitude is more than 6.5, which happens in the Indian Ocean region, and if it is more than 8.0 outside Indian Ocean region. So based on this magnitude, we have developed the standard operating procedure. And if there is an earthquake of more than 6.5, Tsunami Warning Center, based on the seismic data that is coming into the system. So if it is more than 6.5, we issue the first bulletin that there is a potential to generate tsunami. And then we use the Open Ocean Propagation Scenario Database, and if it has got a potential to generate tsunami, and then we issue the second bulletin with additional information on the threat level. So we also have uniquely designed the SOP for near source region, for particularly Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and far source region like mainland. So if the earthquake has a potential to generate tsunami, and the model run scenarios tells that the estimated time is less than 16 minutes, then the wave height is greater than 2. So then we issue the warning to the near source regions, and 0.5 to 2 meters we issue the alert, 0.2 to 0.5 we issue watch. These are the threat levels that we issue the advice. And similarly for far regions, like there is a slight change. If it is more than 2 meters and the estimated time of arrival is more than 60 minutes, we issue the alert and watch. So then subsequently, after the second bulletin, then we start looking into the observational data that is coming from the sea level network, and then we include the information that are coming from this observational network like tsunami buoy. If they generated tsunami, then we add this information, and subsequently, if there is any update on the earthquake magnitude and all, that also we take into consideration and revise the bulletins, and then issue bulletins again, updated bulletins similarly. So generally, the SOP, based on the SOP, what is the public response and threat levels? What we put in the bulletins. So if we issue the warning, means that is the estimated tsunami arrival and amplitude. If it is more than 2 meters, then we issue the warning. Then if it is 0.5 to 2 meters, we issue the alert, and then watch. This gives us what are the action to be taken, and where we disseminate this information to, like the Minister of Health Sciences, Minister of Home Affairs, National NDMA, and NDRF, and then SDMAs, and then similarly. So then what people have to do? So the bulletins also will include what each threat means. So if it is warning, then they have to evacuate the beaches and go. And if it is alert, then we have to look forward basically to evacuate the beaches. And then if it is a watch, just wait for further information. And we keep on looking into the observational data, and then we see that if the observational data, we feel that if it is less than 0.5 meters and all, then we issue the threat cost bulletins. So we have a decision support system which was developed in-house to issue the bulletins based on the standard operating procedures. So the decision support system will capture all the real-time data that is coming from the seismic stations, and then does the situation analysis using the open ocean propagation scenario database, and then issue the bulletins, as I mentioned in the previous slides, and also it does the observational analysis and issue the subsequent bulletins. This is developed in-house, and then based on the SOP, it takes the observations and then issue the advisories. This is the typical example of the tsunami bulletin for any event that has potential to generate tsunami. As I mentioned, the first bulletin we issue with only the magnitude of earthquake and the potential to generate tsunami, and wait for the subsequent bulletins. And in the second bulletin, we use the open ocean propagation scenario database, and then we issue the travel time maps and the threat level maps, and we give the threat status for whatever I have mentioned, about 4,000 plus coastal focus points. So we give the precise information on the which coastal forecast point falls under watch, alert, or warning threat. So then we issue these products using a variety of communication modes. We use the fax, email, SMS, web, GTS. So and also we issue the bulletins to other countries in the Indian Ocean region. So bulletins are issued at national level to various agencies like MHA, NDMA, MOS, NDRF, IMD, CWC, and all. State level we issue to the SDMAs, and at district level also we issue the district emergency operation centers. And also we have some critical installations along the coast, like the atomic power plants, and there are ports and harbors. We directly disseminate the information to these critical installations along the coast. So now we are also planning to adopt the latest technologies in the ICT, and we're trying to integrate we have developed an integrated dissemination system which is going to be operational soon, where we are going to use latest technologies in addition to our conventional communication modes, like which I have mentioned, fax, email, and SMS. In addition to that one, mobile app, social media, interactive voice response system, electronic display boards, radio and TV broadcast, and cloud channels. So this is also in the final stages, and we are going to be operational soon. So another important aspect which I have mentioned, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, we have only 20 to 30 minutes time. So we need to have direct connectivity with the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, where we have established a special communication mode. It's called VSAT aided emergency communication systems. We have set up these VSAT-based VoIP phone and fax at some 7 emergency operation centers in Andaman Nicobar Islands, where we have set up. We have also set up the electronic display boards and also some application for them to get on earthquake alerts. So we have been providing the information immediately to the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, as soon as there is an earthquake and there is a potential to generate tsunami. So, as Director INCOIS has mentioned, we have been working flawless since the Tsunami Warning Center was operational since 2007. So, as on today, we have monitored 101 tsunami-zenic earthquakes. As I mentioned, more than 6.5 in the Indian Ocean, and out of 101 earthquake events in the Indian Ocean region. So there are 7 earthquakes have potential to generate tsunami, and where we have issued bulletins on tsunami warnings. So these are the 7 earthquakes where we have issued the bulletins, where we have given the information on tsunami threat information to different coastal focus points. So these 7 indicates, of course, these 7 have not generated any major tsunamis, but there were some minor tsunamis at different locations. I'm not going to read the table, but we have been working flawlessly, and we have never given any false alarm to the country. And one of these 7 events is on 11th April 2007, where we have an earthquake of magnitude 8.5 in the northern Sumatra earthquake. Really tested our efficiency and efficacy of our tsunami early warning systems to get the data and then to provide bulletins. So there was an earthquake of 8.7. We have issued the first bulletin, and within 8 minutes, and within the next 8 minutes, we have issued the second bulletin with the information on which are the coastal focus points that are going to be under warning, watch, or alerts. Now, this is how we have issued these bulletins. And subsequently, bulletin 3, we have also started receiving data from these tsunami buoys and then the sea level network. You can see this is the tsunami buoy STB01, which is near the Sumatra region, which has confirmed that it has generated tsunami, and of course it is a minor. So it has confirmed, observing system has confirmed. Then the sea level network near to the source region also have confirmed that yes, it has generated tsunami, but it is minor. So we have given the qualitative and quantitative warning status to very precisely to the coastal focus points, like these coastal focus zones, where we said that only 3 islands initially under warning, and of course subsequently we have updated based on the further information that we have received from the seismic data as well as the observational network. We have updated that only 2 islands in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands are under warning, remaining are under alert or watch. So we also have tsunami early warnings issued by Indonesian Tsunami Early Warning System, Japan Joint Australian Tsunami Early Warning System, Pacific Tsunami Early Warning Center, and Japan Meteorological Agency. So, but if you see that, they have given broadly and basin-wide evacuation, but whereas we have given the qualitative and quantitative information, and in conformity with the observations that we have come. So this, as I mentioned, has really tested our efficiency and efficacy of our center. And of course, then our disaster management agencies also have acted very apt and taken necessary actions to disseminate this information to the stakeholders and then take necessary actions. So, in addition to serving country, as Dr. INCOIS has mentioned, Indian Tsunami Early Warning Center also has been designated as a regional tsunami service provided by the Intergovernmental Coordination Group of Indian Ocean Tsunami Early Warning Tsunami Warning and Mitigation System as part of Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission UNESCO. We have been designated in 2011 as a tsunami service provider, in addition to the Indonesia and Australia. So we are responsible
Hello,
for
sir.
providing this early warning. Yes, ma'am.
Hello,
Yeah.
sir.
Yes,
Sorry
Sarji.
to interrupt you. Due to time constraint, we are exceeding short of time, sir. So it's
I'm
12:37.
almost in another few slides. Okay.
Oh, okay, sir.
Okay, I'm done. So we have been providing these services to other 25 countries also. And as I mentioned, now as a regional service provider, we have to provide the services. And Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning System has developed the key performance indicators of all these TSPs. They have set up some key performance indicators So we are well within this, we have been doing well, and we are well within these key performance indicators. The Tsunami Warning Center has been doing very well. And as I mentioned, in addition to the Indian Ocean, we also have monitored 521 stations across the globe. Another important aspect of tsunami risk reduction is like communication tests. When it comes to the tsunami preparedness and response, we have been continuously and regularly conducting the communication tests, the SOP workshops, tabletop exercises, and mock drills for sensitizing these stakeholders of various disaster management agencies. So this shows that as part of our capacity building activities, we are organizing workshops, trainings to all the stakeholders, and also we have prepared the awareness materials for easy understanding of these stakeholders as well as the coastal community, and we conduct the regular workshops and then create awareness. And in addition to that one, we also regularly conduct communication tests to test the communication modes. So every year we conduct twice this communication tests and to see that how communication channels are working, and also we analyze which mode of communication tests are doing well, and if there are any challenges, we try to address those things. So another important aspect which Dr. Radhakrishnan has mentioned, conducting the mock drills. So Tsunami Early Warning Center conducts the mock drills at national level and regional level every year. Two such great examples are like in 2017 we have conducted a mega mock exercise jointly with the MHA and NDMA, where all coastal states have participated, and about 1 lakh people were evacuated during this exercise. And once in 2 years, the Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning Center, Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning System also conducts the mock drill at regional level. And 2018, we have conducted the regional level mock drill, where we have about 44 districts along 8 coastal states have participated in the thing. Again, we have about more than 1 lakh people who are evacuated. And we have IOA 20 tsunami mock exercise on 13th and 20th October 2020. Due to Corona pandemic, we are not doing the full-scale mock exercise, but it is limited to only to test the communication tests with the disaster management agencies. Of course, we have now already issued the letters, and probably will be sending letters to all the state disaster management agencies. So another important aspect when it comes to the risk assessment and hazard assessment, we also developed multi-hazard early warning, multi-hazard vulnerability mapping of the coast for various disasters, where we have used a variety of the data. We have developed a multi-hazard vulnerability map for the entire Indian coast, and then we have identified 9 highly vulnerable areas, and then generated the 3D GIS mapping, where we have also included the socio-economic data, where the people living in individual level information is also built into this 3D GIS mapping. And then this 3D GIS mapping, we use it using the tsunami model. We have integrated with the tsunami model, and then we can precisely tell that which are the areas that are going to be inundated, extent of inundation, and then what is the risk assessment at building level of this 3D GIS we can provide. And also it will give the socio-economic risk of the tsunamis, which are the buildings are at high risk, very high, moderate, and low risk. So then we can it can also help in coastal risk assessment at building level. So this is how, and this can be used. This information can be used for preparing the evacuation maps, where we are now promoting the implementation of Tsunami Ready program. As the director has mentioned, now IOC UNESCO has come up with a innovative concept called Tsunami Ready program, which is a community performance-based program. And it is mainly to improve the coastal community's preparedness for the tsunami emergencies and minimize the loss of life and property. So Indian Ocean Tsunami Warning System has devised 11 indicators, and if the communities, they meet these 11 indicators, then they will be recognized as tsunami ready communities. As director has mentioned, Orissa State Disaster Management Disaster Management Authority has implemented this Tsunami Ready program on 6 villages during the IOA 18 exercise. Of course, tsunami, there is a national board set up by Ministry of Earth Sciences. Then this national board visited 2 villages of the 6, and then since they have met all these requirements of these 11 indicators, national board has recommended to IOC UNESCO for recognition at the national level. So these are the 11 indicators now that 2 villages of Odisha Venkatraipur from Ganyam districts and Nolia Sahi from Jagatsinghpur districts. They have implemented the tsunami ready indicators, and then they have been recognized by UNESCO IOC as the tsunami ready communities. So the recognition doesn't mean that they are tsunami proof, but it is mere an acknowledgement for their efforts on the tsunami preparedness of the community and their awareness and what are the steps they have to take if in case of any event of tsunami. So we are now trying to promote this Tsunami Ready program. We want to extend this Tsunami Ready program and bring greater participation from the coastal communities in collaboration with the disaster management authority, national level and at local level. So now we are going to take capacity building trainings and workshop for all the stakeholders to extend this program. So this is my last slide. So having said that, now we have the best tsunami early warning system in the world, as director has mentioned, where we have the state-of-the-art technology, as far as observations are concerned, modeling is concerned, and ICT infrastructure is concerned. So as Dr. Radhakrishnan has posed that now, we are now well equipped. I'm sure that now we are well equipped to get early warnings based on the infrastructure that we have developed. But still there remains some challenges, like if you have seen the recent tsunamis, which are called atypical tsunamis, caused tsunami in the Palu, which is because of the submarine landslides, which is near field tsunami, and also the volcanic eruptions and all. And we have some challenges in the modeling results where we have some estimation of overestimation and underestimation. And we are addressing these challenges based on our new initiatives. We have increasing the sensor networks. We are enhancing our modeling, which I have mentioned. And then the 3DGS, which I have mentioned, we are enhancing the communication systems. And also we are coming up with the multi-hazard early warning systems, where coastal inundation is common. So we are going to have multi-hazard early warning system, both for storm surges and as well as tsunamis. And also we have various R&D components to address these challenges. So with this, I end my talk, and thanks for giving me this opportunity. I thank NIDM and Executive Director as well as Professor Surya Prakash. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your presentation. Sir highlighted the role of INCOIS in tsunami risk reduction and resilience by discussing the vulnerability of Indian coastal states to tsunami, and mentioned about two major subduction zones that may cause tsunami for India, that is Andaman Sumatra subduction zone and Makran subduction zone. He talked about the initiative taken by the government of India to disseminate early warning system for tsunami. Sir enlightened about the modules of the tsunami early warning system developed by INCOIS and major initiative taken by INCOIS, namely Indian Ocean Tsunami Ready program for enhancing the coping capacity of coastal communities to tackle tsunami. The Tsunami Ready program has been successfully completed in 2 villages of Odisha. Thank you very much, sir, for brainstorming lecture. Now I would like to invite Professor Surya Prakash to share his view and experience. Professor Surya Prakash is the head of Geometeorological Risk Management Division of NIDM and is in charge of 3 specialized centers. He was associated with various prestigious institutions such as CBRI, IIT Roorkee, JNU, Wadia Institute of Himalayan Geology, FRI, VIT. He has also published several national and international research publications, book articles, etc. in some of the high impact factor journals. Professor Surya, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Harjeet. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
आवाज साफ आ रहा है? ठीक.
हाँ जी,
Okay,
sir, पूरी clear है.
we are already over time. So let me just briefly say that my previous speakers actually have covered a good amount of the information related to how the tsunami had affected and how we responded, plus the information regarding signs of tsunami, in addition to how we are monitoring and issuing early warning systems and performing at the international levels. I'll just go through basically being an earth scientist, just sharing the artistic picture first of all. First, when I visited Japan, we had a collaboration with Japanese on earthquakes, tsunami, and landslides. And this is the first image I came across there from an artist called Hokusai, who created a wave of very huge height during the Kanagawa earthquake and tsunami. Now, causes my friend Dr. Mr. Patabi Rao has already mentioned to you can be many. In fact, most of us think mostly about earthquake and volcanoes, but there are landslides which had actually caused tsunamis of the highest waves that had been ever generated on this earth. So I'll just tell you about that. And basically understanding about the science of occurrence of the earthquake within the oceanic environment, we have two types of basically plates on this earth called oceanic plate and continental plate. There are plates which are also hybrid plates which have both oceanic as well as continental elements. And these plates are always moving, as you know, because of different types of plate margins which are divergent, convergent, and parallel plate margins which are having strike slip faults and movements which called as transform boundaries. And these movements are happening because of the convection currents which are cells which are established within the asthenosphere of the earth. You can see briefly at this picture. So I'm trying to make you understand why these tsunamis are actually an endogenic process which cannot be prevented, which are inevitable. However, the consequences can be prevented. And the consequences are that when the plate movements occur, the displacement of the rocks happens, and that results into movement of the heavy mass of water over above and above them. So this upliftment of the water body above them actually results in formation of sinusoidal waves. So at one part it is high, which we call as crest, and there is another part which is where the wave will be low. So it is termed as trough. So these sinusoidal characters of troughs and crusts actually are very much indicative of the possibility of occurrence of a tsunami in any region. And this knowledge actually has led to safety of lives at many places. I'll just give you some of those examples where this had happened. But let me also clarify that this crest and trough phenomena is variable depending on the topography of the area. So it may be the trough first arriving towards the coast or the crest. So the crest and trough will variable. However, mostly it is the trough region which arrives first during the tsunami periods. And this is showing just that when the wave actually amplitude is indicator of the energy of the wave. So when it comes closer to the shorelines, the wave heights increases. Where in the mid of the ocean, the wave height is less because of the water volume. So the wave height actually increases multifold when it comes towards the coast and the shorelines, and that results in higher impacts of the tsunami. So I was just telling you the highest wave that happened in a tsunami happened in Alaska at Litwa Way when a terrestrial landslide happened, and it went into the sea and raised a wave of almost about 525 meters, the highest ever recorded tsunami. So this is somehow called as atypical, but submarine landslide and terrestrial landslide along the coast can cause bigger landslides even more larger than the earthquakes. In Indian Ocean, this has been mentioned by our director, so I'll not repeat it. The coastline of 7,516 kilometers, and the Indian Ocean tsunami also discussed. So let me escape this slide. But however, as a geoscientist, I would like to point you out that when I'm talking about tectonic plates of a variable size also, not only in terms of their oceanic, continental, and hybrid plates, having both the constituents, but also different sizes. So in our Indian Ocean, when the Indian Ocean tsunami took place, actually the Indian plate, the Burmese microplate, and the Eurasian plate, there is a triple junction, and an earthquake happened at that. And that was the biggest ever earthquake happened at this particular location. so caused a major tsunami. And the tsunami impacts, you have seen several impacts in terms of damages to lives, economy, and infrastructure. But the environment also gets affected, and the corals and the water bodies and the aquatic life, the marine life also gets affected, which are close to that area. So we have to look into that also. So I'm just showing you some of the picture how the coral lives and the marine life were affected, and even the forest. The forest, the fisheries, the agriculture, the laborers, and the fishermen, they are the most affected during the tsunami periods. And mangroves also got affected. They are not only affected, but also were also lifesavers. At some many of the places, uh, they have actually saved many of the lives because of a barrier they created against the tsunami waves. So we have to learn about the environmental condition. Other is that whenever this tsunami takes place, it actually brings lot of seawater into the ground, the territorial lands, and this actually pollutes the groundwater also. Seawater intrusion with groundwater actually contaminates the water and creates problems for drinking water supplies. And also the sand dunes, Dr. Radhakrishnan mentioned, that are also act as protective barriers, just like the mangroves. So we should not remove them when they are existing close to the coast areas, and they can serve as one of the barriers to reduce the impacts. Tsunami risk reduction is ultimately the approach that we have to adopt. The simulation, the maps, the tsunami warning system, and assessing the exposure of the coastal community with respect to the hazard and vulnerability is very much important. Mr. Patabi Rao actually showed you some of the maps that how the building stocks, the infrastructure are likely to get exposed to different kind of tsunami environment close to the oceans. And what would be the distance up to which the tsunami water can affect has to be also estimated well based on bathymetry, topography, and the magnitude and severity of the tsunami. So how can we avoid is going to the high ground, slowing the water currents by putting the barriers in between. I will show you some of my experiences that I had when we had interacted with the Japanese after the Sendai tsunami that happened in 2011, 11th March in the Miyagi prefecture. You know that tsunami actually had killed several of people, and this is the structure how they can be actually their impact can be mitigated in terms of blockade against the tsunami forces. So design and construction of new buildings to minimize tsunami damage. So now we know that which are those areas and how much is the level and impact of the energy of the tsunami waves and the likely damages based on our past experiences. So we can try to build new structures with tsunami resistant designs. And for this, we can use our Indian standards codes or international codes and reducing the impacts of those forces in various ways. So our engineers are well trained into this. They know that we need to actually not only protect the superstructure but also the foundations of the buildings. So buildings protection and both with the ground as well as of the superstructure is very important in terms of forces against the because of tsunami. So protecting the existing developments, because only new structures you can construct with new disaster resistant designs, but the existing structures also need to be protected. So we have to build some infrastructure like the sea walls or the break waters barriers or some other structures, which I will sharing with you how we can do. And also in case we cannot reduce those impacts, then evacuation is the only option. So evacuation and safe routes and shelters also to be planned through our disaster management plans, as also indicated by Dr. Radhakrishnan. Tsunami early warning system is already in now place, and we are performing well, as said by our friend from INCOIS and director INCOIS. So the least expensive and most important mitigation efforts is education, training, and capacity development. Because as said by our friends from INCOIS also, until and unless community is aware and prepared, we cannot save lives. So education, training, and capacity development through sensitization and awareness is the key. And I will cite to some of the examples from the 2004 tsunami that I can cite you from various places. This guy from Sri Lanka, who was a seaman, actually is experienced in tsunami earlier in Chile, could save several lives, hundreds of lives in a village where he lived from Sri Lanka, Galbokha, where there's another nearby places, almost 70 to 90% of the population was abolished. All of you must have heard about the girl student Tilly Smith from Britain, who was at that time 10 years old, whose teacher has actually told in her geography class that when the tsunami occurs, there is a residual of the sea, and you can see the seabed and the beach beyond normal extents. And she informed the pilgrims, tourists on the beach side in Thailand, and several hundreds of the lives could be saved because of that information. Similar, there was an incident in Indonesia also, where there was a traditional knowledge available with the Indonesian villagers, and one of the boy who was playing close to the beach, Anto Suryanto, he informed that there is a likelihood of tsunami, and then all the villagers went upside, and there was least casualty. There almost no casualty in that particular village compared to all other villages. So there are many such instances. Even our people, Jarwa tribe in Andaman, they also use their traditional and indigenous knowledge to protect themselves against the tsunami. So these are the things that we have to learn from our traditional knowledge and also technological knowledge. Just some of the views I'm sharing that I learned from Japan. Because Pacific Ocean, we have maximum numbers of earthquake and also the tsunami. And the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center is one of the oldest one. In fact, when the Indian Ocean tsunami took place, 10 minutes after the Indian Ocean tsunami, they did not feel the likelihood of the tsunami to happen after that earthquake. But later on, they realized and they passed on that information to different countries in the Indian Ocean. However, that was a bit late, and many of the people actually got trapped and affected. And in Japan, numerous records and casualties have happened because of tsunami. And in Japan also, there is an old story that a villager in a village actually saw way back a landslide, the tsunami, and he put fire and alerted all other villagers, and that way he could save many of the lives. So there can be traditional ways in which we can alert people, not only the technological means, as Japan Meteorological Agency monitors and informs this, and they have also a good communication system also. So communication is equally important besides the forecast and early warning system to reach timely to the people who are likely to get affected, and also the infrastructures on the way from the structures or the infrastructure to the sea. Tidal gates, tsunami bay mouth, breakwaters, sea walls. These are all structures which has been created. I'll show you. After the Sendai tsunami in 2011, I had the opportunity to revisit those areas. I visited those areas in 2008 and 2015 again. So those areas, they had actually developed the tsunami countermeasure plan as part of their local disaster prevention plan, and they had prepared their communities well. They had discussed with their communities, and that's why the communities were well aware and they could save themselves. And tsunami disaster forecasting manual as well as database in terms of inundation because of tsunami was also prepared. And each coastal area, the evacuation routes were also well decided and informed to the people depending on the wave height, arrival time, appearance, and damages. So these manuals we need to develop in our country also. This is the kind of situation immediately after the tsunami, that water from the seaside had come, and actually all the buildings were surrounded with huge amounts of water from where the people could not come out, but they went upside. Some of the areas where the industries were also there. This is one of the area where which was an industrial town in Japan, also got affected during the Sendai tsunami, which was a triple disaster. And this was the area which was there uh, after the tsunami had occurred. So you can see most of the infrastructure around this area actually got lost. I'm showing you the picture before. The previous picture was after the tsunami, and this was the picture just before the tsunami. So you can see how much structures were there. In the previous structure, you can see all those structures were lost. The same bridge and same location, the same pictures. And they kept all these memories and created memorials, field memorials, and also kept posters around that, mentioning that these are the areas which were affected and how many people and how did they save their lives also. So in the our country also, I think we have to have field museums and our practices to make the memorials of our major disaster events, so that the people can revisit and relearn and do not forget the past consequences. This was the temple upside to which the people had actually run to save their lives. And many of those people who were living to that seaside, which I had shown you in the previous picture, actually saved life. Now, this is the situation which is now at the sites, that they had built barriers, and in between they have also planted trees like the one which I'm telling you. In our India, we are having mangroves. And these are the walls you can see on the other sides. These are the walls, and these are the barriers, and these are the trees which have been erected. So multiple barriers and blockades have been created for tsunami waters to enter the inland areas and affect the structures, and also created temporary bathrooms, toilets, and other facilities in case the normal facilities get affected. They have also used tetrapods like structures to inaccessible areas where wall building is not possible, to actually break the energy of the tsunami waves. And this is one of another place where 3,000 homes were built along with facilities, and they had also shown what was the impact. The photographs up and down is actually showing this place before and after the tsunami, so that people do not forget, and they keep all the information in the form of a poster at those sites. So these are another place. So many of those places which I visited after the Sendai tsunami in 2011, I found that they are referring all the information that how the city got developed, and how this 2011 earthquake and tsunami, it affected those buildings, and later on rebuilding has been done to prevent the risks. So with these words, I thank you all, and I request the moderator to kindly take up the questions.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting various tsunami. Sir rightly pointed out the tsunami is not only destroy human life but have a devastating effect on insects, animal, plants, natural resources, and infrastructure as tsunami changes the landscape. Now we will take some questions raised by our participants. Due to time constraint, we will restrict ourselves to only 2 or 3 questions. The first question is for Dr. Patabi. Sir, are you there?
Yes, Harjit. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Sir, the question is raised by Dr. Sushil Gupta. Does INCOIS prepared probabilistic tsunami hazard inundation maps for various return periods like 25 years, 50 years, and so on, as the map on global sites are not accurate enough?
As I mentioned, we have only developed the multi-hazard vulnerability mapping, but now we have just initiated the probabilistic tsunami hazard maps. Now for the Makran region, probably will be extending this study to the entire coast.
Okay, sir. One more question. Sir, how does the geology of a location affects its vulnerability towards tsunami?
I think geomorphology has some impact on the tsunami, but I am not the right person to answer it. Probably Professor Surya Prakash
I will answer this.
Yeah.
Actually, geology, you know that it's a geology of the area which is determining in terms of faults and plate margins movements. It's not only the plate margin movements, there can be intraplate earthquakes also which can generate earthquakes. So it can be interplate or intraplate earthquakes. Second, not only geology but morphology, as he said. Morphology is indicated by topographical changes. Actually, morphology, if you have the lowland areas, coastal sites, if the depth is shallow, the water wave will rise more because the same energy that is indicated in terms of amplitude, the wavelength will decrease and amplitude will increase. So that's why impact may be higher in terms of shallower areas compared to deep areas. Okay. Any other question?
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. One question is for you, actually. Sir, the question is raised by Hari Prasad ji. What are the measures taken by government in strengthening community level preparedness?
It's for me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, community level preparedness is actually the key in our government policies, plans, and strategies. What we are doing is all our disaster management authorities, they are targeting the communities affected and trying to work in partnership with them, because all the systems will be successful only if the recipient or the beneficiary for whom we are working are actually aware about it. So we are trying to create awareness through education, through training, through sensitization, through webinars, through dissemination of this knowledge, through web media and online courses as well. So the community partnerships, involvement of the NGOs, the community-based organizations, the volunteers. Now NDM has started Apta Mitra scheme, so they are also getting involved into it, and we are also involving in several other ways the self-help groups in those areas. So that's how the community will be integrated, and actually this has to be starting from community level itself. So bottom up approach will be more effective, because tsunami is inevitable, not a preventable disaster. However, the consequences can be, and that would be only possible by the involvement of the communities. The infrastructure and structural managements can be done by the government.
Okay, thank you, sir. With this, we have come to end of today's session. Valediction session. Now I would like to call upon our ED and NIDM Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, VSM, for his concluding remarks. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Harjeet. First of all, I must thank all the speakers, Dr. J. Radhakrishnan, for giving such a detailed presentation of how Nagapattinam tsunami was tackled and how it, from a major tragedy, how they turned it around and the resilience was built into the society with so many examples and with so many lessons learned and way forward, which I think our report will capture in the right sense. And also Dr. Pattavi Ramarao, who gave what INCOIS is doing and the technological advancement that NIDM has done, which is generally not known to the people except who are affected. I think this was a good forum to tell people about the NIDM, how it is growing by leaps and bounds and is giving impact-based warning, including right up to which house is going to get affected, which house is not going to get affected due to the resultant floods and other things. So it's my thanks to NIDM for coming up with such good interventions, and Dr. Srinivas also for heading that organization. And I thank NICOIS for collaborating with NIDM on such an important issue. And we will continue this collaboration further so that the work of NICOIS is told to the people in the right sense. And all the community, that is the research community, the academia, the experts, are also able to hear right from the NICOIS as to what they are doing and how they can also contribute to the work being done. So we will use this as a platform for that. I thank all the participants who have been patiently listening this webinar, and the strength was quite a lot. It had reached 900 at some point of time. So thank you so much, and thanks to Professor Surya Prakash, Dr. Harjeet for moderating. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your concluding remarks. Now I would request Mr. Anil Kathat, young professional, GMR division, NIDM, to present vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Harjeet. Am I
Sir.
Good afternoon to all the dignitaries, experts, and participants. Today, we got the opportunity to enhance our understanding about that disaster, which is triggered by other hazards such as submarine earthquake, landslides, and which is not frequent. So, landslides have low frequency of occurrence, but they have also enormous destructive power, causing colossal damage to coastal communities worldwide. We witnessed the destructive power of the disaster during the Indian Ocean tsunami of 2004, which affected more than a dozen of nations. In India alone, thousands of people lost their lives, beside huge monetary losses due to devastation of infrastructure and structure. To create a culture of safety and resilience against such nightmares, we need to focus on EAT. EAT here refers to education, awareness, and training. Education and awareness is required to enhance the understanding of risk of disasters. That is also a very first priority of Sendai framework. We need to make DRR a part of regular curriculum at schools as well as at in university level. Also, enhancing the capacity of communities is crucial element. 8 point of our Honorable Prime Minister 10-point agenda on DRM also highlighted the need to build on local capacity and initiatives. People should also train when, what, and how they should respond to minimize the risk of disasters. And IDM has always been its toe in this regard through its webinar training program, self-study programs, online thematic courses, publications. It has been our pleasure to host this webinar on tsunami risk reduction and resilience. And I thank INCOIS Ministry of Earth Science for collaborating with us to organize. I would like to propose hearty vote of thanks to dignitaries Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, BSM, Executive Director NIDM, Dr. T. Srinivasa Kumar, Director in INCOIS, for their supervision and setting the context of the webinar through their respective address. I also like to take this opportunity to thank our distinguished experts, Dr. J. Radhakrishnan, IAS, Principal Secretary, Health and Family Welfare Department, Government of Tamil Nadu, Dr. E.P. Ramarao, Scientist F. INCOIS, and Professor Surya Prakash, Head GMR Division and IDM, for making the webinar significant through their presentations, wisdom, experiences on various facets of tsunami, risk reduction, and resilience. I express a deep sense of gratitude to all the participants for their active participation. I would also like to thank my GMRT colleague, Dr. Harjeet Kaur, for moderating and Mr. Raju Thapa for facilitating the webinar. With these words, I conclude my vote of thanks. Thank you. Over to you, Harjeet.
Thank you, sir. With that, we have come to end of today's program. Now, I would request Mr. Raju Thapa to assist our participant and end the webinar. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Harjeet Kaur. Now, there is an important information to all the participants that your attendance is automatically recorded in the Cisco WebEx event, and you don't have to mark your attendance in any attendance sheet. We'll be sharing the feedback link, which is already in the chat box, and I want to highlight that all participants should have at least 60% attendance in the webinar in the Cisco WebEx event. to be eligible to get the certificate. And there will be no certificate of participation for attending training programs via YouTube platform. And I would also like to inform our participant that National Institute of Disaster Management is organizing a webinar on utilize the opportunity of social media and mobile technology on 8th September from 11 to 1 p.m. This webinar is jointly organized by NIDM in collaboration with NDM. In addition to that, NIDM is also organizing several other webinars and training programs in various aspects of disaster management. And I would request you to kindly visit our official website to get the details of all the upcoming programs. You can also visit our official YouTube channel to get the access of conducted programs. With that, I would like to end this webinar. And we have already shared the link in the chat box. For those who haven't filled, kindly fill in the chat box. And if you have missed the feedback link, I can share it in your in the WhatsApp group also. Thank you. So Dr. Harjit Kaur, should I close the meeting?